Yeah, kid. Welcome to the Handsome Homebuyer podcast here with Charles Weinraub and Dan O'Neill. You know who else is handsome? El Julio Maravilloso. You know who else is handsome? Captain Permit. 516-513-8838.
I love it.
Plot twist. Welcome back to actually episode 2 of the Dan O'Neill Show, available exclusively at Coke Interactive. Today we have our guest here, our main man, great friend here, mentor, Charles Weinraub. We obviously did a little play there on your podcast. I think that
was unexpected.
Well. Yeah, right?
But I loved it.
So welcome to the Dan O'Neill Show, episode 2 here. We have Charles Weinraub as a guest. My name is Dan O'Neill. I am 26 years old. I am the leader of the O'Neill team, Long Island's #1 real estate team. We are going to do over $1 million in GCI this year in our first year of existence for the team. So we're super excited. We are forming this podcast here at Coca, and couldn't think of anyone better to have than you, my friend, Charles Weinraub.
Man, it's good to be here. You know what the crazy part is? Now I think about it, I feel like I've known you forever, but I really only met you like a year ago, and that podcast that we did together came up in like one of my memories, and I was like, wow.
We did your podcast first, and then we did your fundraiser for Man and Woman of the Year, and then we became pretty close. Then I had you on my podcast that I did, whatever it was, a year and a half ago.
That was when I first met you.
Yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I've been through war with this guy, and it's only been like a year.
I mean, we kind of have. I'm looking at memories from last year, and I'm like, this feels like it was 10 years ago. Like, it's kind of crazy how fast time is going.
Yeah, man.
But welcome. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm great.
I appreciate you being on the show. So we talk every single day. So this is not really going to be, we're just going to jump right into it. You know, I'm not really going to go over the whole spiel. I think everyone listening kind of knows who you are and has a pretty good idea where you came from, what you're doing. The biggest thing for me and why I want to have you on the podcast is we talk every single day, and I feel like they should all be sound bites. Like people should be able to listen in on them, like they should be recorded. So I just wanted to have you on here, kind of chop it up and talk about some of the things that we talk about on a daily.
Without a doubt.
The biggest thing for me that I think people can benefit from listening to you or myself on this podcast is social media. Social media for you and I really are our biggest lead sources. It's how we're getting our name out there, networking. So my question to you, just to start this off, is what made you get into social media, and how has it shaped your career? You know, like you started the Handsome Homebuyer podcast 2 or 3 years ago when really podcasts weren't really a thing.
3 or 4 years ago,
Yeah, and you know, you had Beth on, you had Femi on, you had all of these people, but you know, you were doing it with like an iPhone. You had no real production quality.
Yep, there were roaches running around everywhere.
Yeah.
I was in a basement.
You had your car wrapped. You had a smart car wrapped. You know, like. But you did it, and regardless if anyone was listening or not, you continued to do it. Yep. And now you've built out this unbelievable podcast that I think everybody on Long Island listens to, maybe even nationally as well. And it's just taken your career to the next level. So what made you start the podcast, and what made you get into social media?
So basically, the podcast, I was invited on somebody else's podcast, and as soon as I did this, I was like, oh, this is freaking awesome. Like, I was born for this kind of stuff. But in general, I'm always looking as much as I can. Like, I'm not super into tech, and we're working so much that it's hard to kind of see what the new trends are for every single thing. But every time I see something that pops out that's like relatively new, I try it.
Yeah.
Like recently, I got that. I started that text platform where people can text me randomly through Community, and I'll answer all kinds of real estate investment questions. Yeah. I just always try to be on the cutting edge of things where I can connect with people, and it makes a huge difference, man. So you just decided one day, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm just going to start inviting people in. It's good networking, and it just kind of took off from there, or? Yeah, so I network a tremendous amount, and I used to network pre-COVID an insane amount. So there was a lady named Valerie Lamp, who has a networking group that used to meet every month. Yeah. So I went there, and she started doing a podcast. She invited me on hers. I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. It's amazing. And then you start doing it. You start doing it because it's different and fun, and that's the primary reason. But then when you get into it, you start realizing there's all these other benefits to it. Like, although this is very simple, I started in a roach-infested basement with a $100 microphone and no video. I mean, you remember my set last year. My set last year was like, we were sitting on a couch. Like, no, you were light years away. I mean, this is where we are in Colca is absolutely amazing. Yeah. But there was literally 3-inch cockroaches running around while I was doing this thing in a Levittown basement. So the point is even though it's simple and inexpensive, people want to be on podcasts. Right. So if you want to meet somebody or build a relationship with somebody, all you have to do is invite them on your podcast. And even though, again, it's like this simple little thing, it allows you to meet people you otherwise would never meet before.
Right.
And it allows people to learn from you. You chop it up into a million pieces of content. It helps you put that out. And just a lot of positivity into the world.
What I found that is most interesting is you also build a relationship. So like I had Brian Karp on here last week. I've never really met Brian in person. Like we talk all the time on the phone and he gives me advice, but we've never really sat across, belly to belly like this. And I feel like I have a good relationship with him now. You know what I mean? Like, it was cool. And like last year, Vinny Martino, like people that I've always wanted to get in front of, and that's what I'm going to be doing with this podcast.
You and I, bro. I walked into Asaf's LLS thing. You came up to me like, dude, I'm going to do a podcast.
I remember that.
Will you be on my podcast? I'm like, absolutely. And you're like, let's do this. And that's how you and I basically forged a lifelong friendship.
God, I forgot about it.
That's what I was talking about.
Drinking, but wow, I remember that actually. It was Asaf's. It was the LLS event that Beth threw, and I went up to you and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna start a podcast. Want you on first? That was when I first got my license too. Yep. And then I did it, and then you were I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Brian Karp, I met on my podcast. Beth, I became a lot closer with on my podcast. Jason Ciano, the guy from Beechwood Homes, Stephen Dubb. There's so many people that I would never have met.
And so you don't even care. Like, so you started this with cockroaches in the basement. Like, no one was even really listening, but you didn't care. Like, you were doing it for the networking. You were doing it because you wanted to do it. So for a new agent or maybe somebody that's afraid to, like, get out of their shell and do this, right? Because, we got some pretty bright lights here. Like, my tie's a little bit mangled. I had a sticker on my
you look sharp today, bro. That's a fresh suit.
Thank you. I'm not going to plug where it's from until I get paid. But the point of it is just that like, what is your advice to somebody that's afraid? Like, for me, for example, like, so you had Bree on your podcast, right? She is, for those that don't know, Brianna Murphy is an agent on the team, the O'Neill team. She's crushing it. But her and everyone else really on the team, like, they're afraid to get in front of the camera. They are all great-looking people. They are all very charismatic, energetic. They have a lot of good things to say. They're knowledgeable. But they, like, you put a camera in front of them, and they're like narcoleptic goats. They're like, they don't want to do it. You don't want to do it.
You do have the sexiest team in Long Island real estate, though. You do. Now that I think about it, you do. You definitely have the hottest team in Long Island real estate.
But nobody wants to get, and it's not even just my team. It's just in general. So, like, what would you say to these people? Just, I'm not going to curse, but just do it.
That's the thing. You just have to. And here's the thing. You have to be the kind of person, like you and I, we genuinely are unaffected by the way the world sees us. We don't care. So when you don't care, you're free to do pretty much anything and everything you want.
Right.
That said, you have a very young team. They're in their early 20s, mid-20s. I'm 40 years old. I started this podcast. I was like 36 years old. So it also takes time to develop. You personally are way ahead of the curve, bro. Like, you're 26 years old, basically leading the charge in Long Island sales. And, that's very, 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 very rare. But they just have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And that's why, like with Bree and other people that I care about, I put them in uncomfortable situations to push them, and then hopefully it gets them going.
Social media really is the number one lead source for me. Like, I pay for Zillow leads, right? I pay for everything, all these different, lead sources and lead gen, but I don't use any of them. So I give them all to the team. But social media for me, even if it's just a live video outside of a property, or even if it is something like this, or asking other people to be on their podcast, or doing whatever it is, like, that is so crucial for you because it's all about perception. So the more that you are out there, the more that you're doing. When I first got my license, people would come up to me and be like, dude, you're killing it, man. Like, you're doing amazing. I didn't even have, like, a sale at that point. Like, I was just going to other people's listings, right, that would let me, and I would do a live video or, like, a post that I did at open house. People are like, holy smokes, man, you're crushing it.
Perception is reality.
It really is. So the social media aspect of things is so important. And if you're a new agent, if you're an agent that's trying to go from 10 deals to 20 deals, whatever it may be, like, you have to put yourself out there because that's how people get to know you.
Well, think about it like this, especially now you're in COVID, right? So there's really no networking.
Right.
People are weird, like, having you in their house. They don't want a ton of people in their house. Whereas a seller might have brought in 10 agents to speak to before. They don't want to do that. They don't want 10 random people running in and out of their house. They don't know where they've been. So the people are on their phones all day long.
Yeah.
So if you're not there posting at 8 in the morning, 12 when people go to lunch, 5 when they get out of work, every single day, 7 days a week across all platforms, people are going to forget about you.
What's interesting is also, like, I made videos that have flopped. I've made videos that have gotten 100 views, and I've also made videos that I thought were awful that went completely viral and I had like 30,000 views overnight. All it takes is one video. So even if you start doing it and you're like, oh, I hate the way I look here, and maybe you delete it, or oh, this is bad, you never know. Like, it could go viral, or it could make
Yep.
a difference. If one person watches it or sees it and gets to know you or gives you business from it, then it's a home run, and it's free. It is free, no money,
Without
zero.
a doubt. But I think people really need to not focus on the likes and the views. You look at it as a metrics, okay, fine, but just put it out because you know it's the right thing to do. You're helping people. It's good for the brand, etc. Just keep putting stuff out. Forget about what you look like. Don't worry about what you're saying. Just everybody has valuable information.
The way that I try and handle my social media is as if it were a TV show. So I try and post and do stuff as if people were following along with a TV show. So it's all about consistency, because if you're watching a TV show and you're following along for 4, 5, 6 months, but then there's nothing there for 6 months, well, you're going to find another TV show to go watch. You're going to find something else to be entertained 100%. By, in theory. So it's also posting, but it's just being consistent with it. And if you're somebody, again, if you're a new agent, if you're an investor like yourself, right? Anybody within this business, even if you're an entrepreneur, just post. Just post. You don't need a professional cameraman.
Nope.
You don't need a full-time camera crew.
Nope.
You have a phone. You can do a Snapchat video, an Instagram video, Facebook, whatever it is. You have a phone in your hand. You have, right here is more technology than probably a computer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe actually it is more.
Consistency is key, though. It's really, really important to do it all the time. And that's really what the problem is with like 95% of people. They start, they're like, oh, whatever. And then a month goes by or a week goes by or whatever it is, and they stop.
Yeah.
You have to be doing it all the time.
So you were doing it for 3-4 years, right? When did it finally like start to like kind of take off where you were like, holy crap, like people are watching, or you were going to the YPN event? Like I remember we were at, oh man, I forget what the name
Brewery
of that place
3.
was. No, it wasn't Brewery. That was pretty cool too. But it was the one before that. It was the last YPN event. Oh my God, it was so far. It was in the middle of no man's land. Cape Pacho.
Okay.
And everyone's coming, we're sitting there just talking, eat winnings, and everyone's coming up to you. So like, you were doing this for 3 or 4 years. When did it finally start to like, wow, this is actually, going somewhere and people are noticing it and listening and following?
It goes in kind of waves. But really, so I was doing the podcast, and then I started working with Matt Our Visual a half day a week, and that started to really kind of work. And then COVID hit, and I remember we went to Brewery 3. This is like the thing that really rings in my mind. So we went to Brewery 3, and the crowd at Brewery 3 is like 25 to 35, where I'm 41. My typical networking group before was like 35 to 45.
Yeah.
So the 25 to 35s are really on social media. That's their shtick.
And that was like Queens, Nassau people too, because that was Eric's Braun.
It was a good mix.
Crew. Yeah.
When I walked in there, I felt like a celebrity. And they're like, "Oh, you're crushing it." And the funny thing was, the year before, so 2019, I did the least amount of deals I ever did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like the market. I was in school, a whole bunch of things, and people were like, "You're crushing it." I'm like, "Bro, that's the least amount of deals I ever did." But because you're in the public eye, like like you say, the perception is you're out there.
But you're also somebody, and we are the same, where we don't really look at the numbers. Like, you're not going around saying, "Oh, I flipped. I did 100 houses this year. I did 200." Like, we both have other things going on. I'm not somebody that like, every single deal is like, I got to write it on my board. Oh, I did 202 deals. Like, that's something that we both don't really focus on. It's more so like what we're able to do giving back wise, right? With the LLS for you, the value that you're able to provide for new agents, for investors. Like, you're not somebody that hides anything. Like, you put everything out there. You know what I mean? Like, all of your strategies, your tips, like you literally
everything.
And that's kind of the segment into my next part here is we both share this again, where like, people message you all the time for advice, for help. Constantly. And the same with me. And I'm in like a constant struggle and battle with it because it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
Like, I'm somebody that I feel, no matter what it is, right? Like, even if you're not getting anything from it, there's no value, there's nothing, but you are paying it forward by going to lunch or dinner with somebody, right? By messaging back and forth with a new agent, like we were talking about the other night. You are giving back to the community and the industry that way without expecting anything in return. The thing that I'm struggling most with is that I'm not doing a great job of managing my time. So by saying yes to like a meeting where maybe you don't get any value back or whatever it is, it's tough because it's constant. So you're spending a lot of time doing these, giving back to people, right, where they're asking you questions or advice. So how do you manage that within your time?
So it's a difficult balance. I'm not great with time management either. I just work myself to the bone.
Right.
It's interesting and ironic because I built a business on that. I built a business on giving people my time, going out, building relationships, because when you have relationships, like right now the market shifts, things change. I'll give you an example. As an investor, there were some investors that were crushing it at auctions and all they did was go to auctions. Right? They're a one-trick pony, and you can't be a one-trick pony. Yeah. Now there's no auctions. Those guys are screwed.
Yep.
but relationships never die. Just as long as you take care of the people, you're always going to get deals from those relationships.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten to the point where, I mean, I literally got between 6 and 12 DMs from random people I never met yesterday who were like, I want to pick your brain. I want to take you out to lunch. I want to talk about how you got into the business.
It's a lot. I'm getting the same thing, and it's a lot. It really, and I'm struggling with it because I don't even have the time for grace. You know what I mean? Like it's tough to give anybody undivided attention for a certain amount of time, and it's something that I'm dealing with. That
I'm just honest with them, and I just say, listen, I really appreciate that. Thank you for following me. Thank you for all the kind words. Unfortunately, I'm sure you understand. I get a dozen of these a day.
Right.
I can't meet and talk to everybody, although I would really love to. And they're like, yeah, man, listen, I understand.
Okay. That's something that I need to learn to say no, I think a little bit more. But if you're a newer agent or you are somebody that wants to better your business, reach out to the people that you look up to. Reach out to people that are maybe more successful or that are doing things that you want to do and ask them for advice. Because, listen, at the end of the day, we can shoot a simple DM or have a conversation. It's just a matter of, there's a lot of people that are asking to go to dinner and lunch and that kind of stuff. But
it's also a matter of the way you go about it too,
right.
and how often. If you ask me once, like Brian Karp tells a story, it's funny. So I reached out to him and I'm like, I want to have you on my podcast, and he's like, no. And then I hit him up again. And he's like, no. And I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit, bro. He's like, I don't have time. I'm like, you have time. You just don't care.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, I'll come in. But that's the same thing. Also, a lot of people hit me up with an ulterior motive. Yeah. They're hitting me up. If you want to engage somebody that you want to learn from, you don't engage them from a position of them not knowing you and wanting something from them. Yeah. You don't do that.
Yep.
You want to give first.
Yeah. You
want to give, and then ask later, or you'll just naturally get it.
So and this is what I was a little bit annoyed with, is I met with somebody, I gave them kind of some advice what to do. They were in a different market, right? Like a Nassau market. So my advice is,
I know where this is going.
Do it out there. You know what I mean? Take my advice.
That was very uncool.
And do it in your market area,
Very.
So whatever it was, right? I told them kind of what we're doing and how it's working. And the next day I open up, my stuff, and he's in my market doing what I told him to do in my hometown.
Not cool.
You can't do that,
Yeah, not cool.
So that kind of now I'm a little gun shy. I'm a little bit traumatized where it's like, do I want to meet, So... And I struggle with it too, because eventually I do want to get into coaching. I want to get into speaking. I want to help. And I just have to understand that that's gonna be the case. Not everybody has the best intentions.
Yeah. But you weed them out. Plus, there's the abundance theory. Plus, listen, it's like somebody can try to be you, but no one's going to be you.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like when you're operating like you are on such a high level, people can you could tell people everything you do step by step. That doesn't mean.
It's also how hard you work.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And we're both people that, we're working our fingers to the bone every single day. Like, there's times when we're on the phone and you're like, we'll both murmur, like, this phone just doesn't stop.
It's a blessing. It really is. It's a blessing, but it's exhausting. Yesterday it was like 7:30 at night. I'm just like, oh.
I know. And it doesn't stop. People calling at 9 or 10.
And you have to respond because you've worked so hard to build those relationships. Yep. Like the fact that in the middle of COVID, my phone rings like crazy for deals and your phone rings like crazy for listings. Most people are really hurting.
Yeah, I agree. And it is a blessing. And it's all about perspective too, because there are days that I catch myself saying I just wish my phone would stop for one day. And it's such a bad thing to say. I just wish my phone would stop, because this is what we worked hard for that phone to ring. But is there ever a time that you want to take your phone and throw it in the sound, or you're not at that level? You have a lot more patience.
There are times, but I don't. But also, I'm different than you. My business is different than you in the sense that you're a real estate agent, so you're literally 7 days a week, and especially weekends.
Yeah.
I now make it a habit of taking Sundays off. I've been doing that for the last year, and it doesn't really impact my business. I can get back to people if they hit me up on Sunday, but most people aren't hitting me up on Sunday.
Okay, so segment into the next part, work-life balance. So you have now
I don't think it exists.
So you don't think it exists?
Well,
at this level.
You know what it is? I guess what is work-life balance? I
don't know.
my job.
Can we put the definition up, because I have no clue.
My job is my life in the sense that I love it. This is fun for me. What we're doing now is fun for me. You and I negotiating a deal or whatever.
Yeah.
That is my hobby. Mm-hmm. So, but I just think it's important to make sure that you have good communication with the people that are in your life, to make sure that you're not neglecting them, and that, because sometimes we get so focused on what we're doing that it's easy to kind of emotionally neglect people around you sometimes.
Well, so for the last 3-4 years, did you have those Sundays off, or this is something that you now are just implementing? Because I mean, you were going to school, you were doing deals, you were doing 200, whatever it was. Is this work-life balance something that now you've just created with wisdom? Now that you're not, I want to say older, but now that you're getting more into the business, was this work-life balance something that now you said, okay, I'm going to take Sundays off and I'm going to hang out with Christina, I'm going to spend time with my family, or is this something that you always have done?
No, you know what it was? I was working like crazy, and then, I still work like crazy, and then it's a matter of also efficiency. So sometimes you can put in a tremendous amount of hours but not be productive.
Yeah.
So I find if I have, the Sunday off or half a Sunday off, I'm a lot more productive throughout the week. Plus, she was always so understanding of my work schedule and everything I do. I always say, I must be a very difficult person to date. I know that. I'm like, I must be a very, very difficult person to date. And I said, you know what? If you care about somebody, and they're really understanding about everything, you have to allot time. Right. So Sunday has always been Christina Day. So whatever
Christina listens to this, she probably won't, but
she will. She definitely will. So whatever Sunday is her day. Whatever she wants to do, we do it, and it's awesome. Uninterrupted. And I put the phone away, and nothing's really going to happen on a Sunday that I can't deal with a few hours later.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm personally working on, and I had Carp on last week, and I think agents that are doing a certain amount of business, it's tough to do that. Even if I try to do that, my phone is ringing. There's fires. There's stuff going on. So it's really difficult to just put your phone down for a day. Even like Beth and Chris Backus and Mark Donnelly, who are all mega successful, they have now gotten to a point where it's 7:30, my phone's off. If you're texting me at 8 o'clock at night or calling me at 8 o'clock at night, you can wait until the morning. Nothing is going to happen. But I'm just not.
I'm not there.
Me neither. No. And I admire and respect them for that, because that's very impressive that they can do that, and people are waiting on them type of thing. Where I feel like if I don't get back to somebody within a 20-minute span, I have pinging anxiety. You and I we call each other, and you'll call me, and I'm on the other line, and then I call you, and then you're on the. You know what I mean? It's call you back.
It's that nuts.
Yeah, but it's if I don't get back to you right away, I get anxiety, or probably vice versa. You know what I mean?
It's just a matter of what works for you, man. It's a matter of what works for you. And listen, there's a direct correlation between how hard you work and what the results are. Yeah. And everybody's measure of success is different.
So if you were to give me advice, or somebody listening who maybe is grinding, their fingers to the bone in terms of work-life balance, what would that advice be? What would your advice be to me? You tell me all the time, but I don't listen, so. But for somebody listening, you don't
need advice, bro.
But somebody listening, what would you tell them in terms of work-life balance?
It's a very simple thing. I don't like the term work-life balance. I just think it's whatever makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? When you wake up in the morning, whatever makes you happy, but just be cognizant of the feelings of the people that are close to you, that care about you, that are really there for you.
Right.
And if that means allotting time to spend with them because you care about them and they want to be with you, then you have to do that.
Okay.
And it's different for everybody. Like we were talking about Brian before. Brian is definitely a 7-day-a-week guy, but he coaches his kids soccer and all that. Mm-hmm. But there's certain things you have to give up. You, me, Carp, Beth, all the successful agents, there's things that we give up. There's a give and take.
Right.
So you're doing really well. You're fucking crushing it. But there's a lot of things that you give up.
Yeah.
Socially, family time, friends, etc.
Yeah. How do you feel about working out? I know that you are also, I'll call you, and all I'll hear in the background is, yeah, no, I'm riding my bike. So you're somebody that works out the same way. We keep using Carp, just he's the first person that's coming to mind because he was my last guest. But he's somebody that's big into lifting in the gym. Aesop German, big in the gym. Something that I am lacking, again, self-aware of. But you listen to these people like Gary Vee and all these mega successful people. They all say that you have to sweat, you have to work out.
Yeah.
For people that are maybe have lost that, again, I'm asking for a friend here, me. What is your advice on that? Do you think that you riding on your Peloton, are you riding in Belmore 100 miles an hour with your helmet on? And do you think
the rides actually changed my life, really.
Wow.
You have to exercise, super important. Uh-huh. You want to feel good. You don't want to look like a bag of shit, right? But when I go out on these.
What are you trying to say, asshole?
This is a G-rated.
Yeah, sorry.
So I go on these 30-mile bike rides, 20, 25, 30-mile bike rides, and I'll put on podcasts of people that I admire, And when I come back from the podcast, when I come back from the ride, I email myself like at least 3 to 5 things that I remembered from that, and then I implement them in my business.
Yeah.
So when you're an entrepreneur and you're like always out there putting out fires, like you are constantly putting out fires. Appraisals, this didn't show up. Oh, the final walkthrough, this agent, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have time to sit there and dream and work on your business. When you disconnect and you go out and you have somebody inspiring you and you spend that hour and a half doing that, game changer.
What I've noticed is like a lot of the ideas that I come up with for my videos are typically when I'm driving. So if I have like a long drive and I put my phones down or I'm listening to music, that's when I quote unquote dream, and that's where these ideas pop into my head for my videos. But I've been so busy and putting out fires and doing this and doing that I've kind of lost that that dream time. So now my videos and the production and the creativeness of my stuff has been going down just because of the move to signature, my house, buying and whatever. I've lost that little time. So for me, like you're never going to see me ride a bike probably, but I was, I need to get back into lifting or cardio, whatever it is. So that way I can just disconnect for a little bit and get back to that dreaming state of creating new content. And it goes to you like I put out a video of me on a jet ski, and then you make a video of the Dos Equis man. I make a video, jumping in a pool, and then you make a video of an elf on the shelf, and you put it on News 12. So it's kind of like we both like motivate each other in terms of the videos, and it's something that I love about you because like you'll send me a video, and you're like, I'm like, damn, dude, that's amazing. Like now I gotta up my game now and come up with something. I gotta jump out of a plane. I gotta do something. And I think it's vice versa. Like I'll send you one, and you're like, of course. You have to come up with something too. So you working out, that's where you come up with these ideas for the videos?
For me, definitely don't be hard on yourself, because I think people need to understand that it's never like this in life, right? You have a lot of things going on. So you were putting out a ton of content, you fell off, just like someone's eating really healthy, then they fall off. Just get back on.
Yeah.
Right? I think people get discouraged and like, F it.
Yeah.
But I think the working out is good because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You get healthy, you feel good, and you have to find some way to disconnect so that your mind can focus on you. Especially like you're an insanely creative person, so you come up with ideas very, very fast. Yeah. If you disconnect for an hour, and listen, nothing is going to happen in an hour that you can't deal with an hour later.
True.
Right?
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, when I was your age, not to date myself, I would have felt the same way, and I'm still nuts now. I was sending emails at 1:00 in the morning last night. But if you disconnect for an hour, nothing is going to happen that you can't fix.
Are you an early bird? Are you like a 4 a.m. guy? Or?
Like, I want to be that guy that wakes up at 3:30 a.m. and like works out and stuff, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm more of like a late night guy. Like I was on the Peloton last night at 11 o'clock.
That's crazy.
Robbing my girl, like 6 months pregnant. I was pedaling away watching her. But that's what you got to do. You got to get it in. So I don't think it matters when you do it.
Right.
I also need to sleep. Like I sleep. Last night I slept 5 hours, which is not like I typically need like 7-8 hours of sleep.
Really? What time do you wake up in the morning typically?
I typically wake up like 6 o'clock.
Oh wow.
So I'm up 6 o'clock. I'm in the office by like 7, and then I work until basically I pass out.
Yeah, I mean you start putting out content like Instagram stories and posts like pretty early, 6:30, 7 o'clock. But that you're already ahead of the curve though, because most people aren't waking up until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So I'm doing this 6, 7 thing too, and every now and then I'll throw in like a 4 a.m. and I'll get to my office and I'll drink a ton of coffee just to get stuff done before people wake up.
Yeah.
What would your advice be to somebody getting into the business in terms of their schedule? Like what happens if somebody says, and I get this question all the time, like I'm new, I don't have any listings, I don't have any business, like why am I getting up at 6 a.m.? What should I be doing? How can I be prospecting? What would your advice be to somebody getting started, or maybe somebody that's doing business that wants to do more in terms of their schedule?
Yeah, so the thing that drives me nuts, there's no judgment here, but you're not allowed to complain about it. For example, if I look at your Instagram and it's Tuesday and it's 12 o'clock and you're shopping or like, just hanging out or going to the gym or whatever, and you're complaining that you don't have business, I don't want to hear anything from you.
I know.
You just have to get up and get moving, and don't think about, it gets overwhelming if you think about the big picture. Just pick one activity, and then as soon as that's done, what's the next activity? Just little by little.
Are you a notepad person?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You write everything down?
Everything. Mm-hmm. I write everything down. I put a list together every day, like every night for the next day. I put a list together of all these things, and then more things, and then I start scratching it off.
Me too.
At the end of the day, I want to look at the pad and be like, yeah.
Me too. It looks like someone like a dog chewed it by the end of the day, because it's like, you're crossing this out, then you're rewriting it, crossing that out. But I have to like physically, dude, I'm like sick, I think. I think I might have OCD, because I have to write it like on a yellow pad, and then I write it in my notes in my phone, and then I have like a to-do app on my phone that I rewrite it a third time. It's bad. And it's almost like too much. Yeah, like But because there's so much, like I might be on the phone with you and you call me and be like, hey, West Babylon or this or that, or like the check, I forgot the check. So if I didn't write it down, I forgot the check. Yeah, I forgot the check. See, so like, but because it's not on my to-do list, you know what I mean? Like,
so they have this. This technology came out. They have a pad, like a regular pad, like a notepad. You write on it with an electronic pen. It writes out ink, but then it automatically transcribes it into your phone.
See, so like I didn't write it down.
That's what you need,
and I forgot it.
That's
what I want to do is get like an iPad and have it as if it is like a notes thing where I can just keep it in my car. Like I've seen realtors' cars where like they have like stands for like a desk.
Yeah.
Like their back is like a printer. That's just not me though. I don't know. Like I feel like your car is your office. Like you had a smart car wrapped.
I miss that thing, bro.
Do you really?
I fucking love that car.
Do you miss it because of the like the PR and the branding, or you miss it because you miss the car?
I mean, it was $150 a month. I put like $15 a week in gas in it, and
have you seen his new car?
I could park it on this table. So you go to New York City, you know that little spot that when you drive in the city, like I can't get parking. Like look at that thing. I'm the guy that fits in that spot.
Were you always somebody like? So you're not materialistic at all. I mean, your outfit right now is probably
all bought as gifts. Right. I swear to God, all of it.
So you're not materialistic at all, and you are incredibly successful. Have you always been that way? Did you? I mean, I know just from knowing you that you grew up, middle class, middle to upper class. I would say. Is it always something that you just were never really like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was very, very blessed. I had great parents, and I pretty much was. I wasn't left wanting anything growing up. Mm-hmm. It just didn't really make me happy. Like I do what I do because I like the rush of it. I need the challenge of it. I have a lot of energy that always needs to get expelled. I don't do it to buy nice stuff. Plus, I've been really, really fortunate because my father's been in business his entire life, so I watched that. Mm-hmm. And I've been in business for myself since I was 23 years old. Wow. So I've seen, the Great Recession, which is probably, hopefully, as bad as we'll ever see it. Yeah. And I've seen very successful people up and down. And there's a lot of times there's a common thread to that, which is nothing lasts forever. Mm-hmm. And when you're making the money, you have to be smart with it. And you can't be spending it like it's never going to end because it's going to end. Right. And you also can't be a one-trick pony. You have to be doing a whole bunch of different things because when something goes to shit, at least you have these other things. Right. So if I am like, the only thing I own that that literally costs me money is my car. So I got a Mini Cooper that's now $500 a month that literally makes me twitch because my car before that was $260 a month. I don't own a house that I live in. Not that that's a bad thing, but I don't own a house that I live in. That is literally the only thing I own that does not make me money. Yep. God forbid something happened tomorrow and I couldn't work. I have enough rental properties and passive income that I would never have to work. And they are leveraged in such a way that I could have tenants not paying and I would be fine.
So how many rentals do you have?
I just actually got another 9 units yesterday.
Congrats.
So somewhere between like 93 and 100, something like that.
And what is you have your hands in a million different things. You're doing commercial, you're doing development, you're doing industrial, you have the rental portfolio, you're flipping, equity fund. What is your 2-year goal? Like what is next? You have the social media, you have the podcast, you have all these different things going on. Like what is next for El Judío Maravilloso?
So my plan is this: I want to open a private equity fund within the next 3 to 5 years, closer to 5 years. Mm-hmm. Right now we're in a recession. The fix and flip market is hot if you are dialed in. Most of my deals come by way of networking. Now I'm cranking up my marketing machine. I've been working about it. We talk about it all the time. So I want to get in there and I want to do, I've hit the triple-digit house mark before. I want to do 200 houses a year before I leave the game within the next 3 years to prove to myself that I was the best.
You're never leaving.
Before I go. I'm definitely.
You're never leaving.
I'm going to play that game until I play the new game, which is, so this is exactly what I'm doing. This is my plan. I have a bunch of commercial development deals in the pipe, and I keep putting more in. Those things take 1 to 3 years to hit. I'm flipping like a crazy man, expanding my platform there. And as the commercial development deals hit, I'm going to segue into private equity and raise a shit ton of money right before, hopefully, the market crashes again, like the economy goes down, and then go buy everything on sale, and then ride that into forever.
But forever, like
it never ends.
I was gonna
It never
say,
ends.
It's never gonna.
It never ends.
Because what's gonna happen is that's gonna be your goal, and you're gonna get that done in 5 years, and then you're gonna be 45 years old, and then your new goal is gonna be, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's never gonna end. For people like us, it
never ends.
It's a disease. It's like it's a sickness. Like it
never ends.
It's not. I mean, it's apples to oranges, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but it's almost like something like alcoholism or a disease that way, where like you really, it's an addiction. You really, you can't stop. Like I don't ever see. There's times where maybe you're burnt out or you're tired of it, but we both love this business so much, and the wins, the daily wins that we get, that there's never going to be an end game to this.
It never ends. And really, like, should it really ever end? If it ended, like, what are we going to do? We're going to sit around, we're going to watch TV. Like, what are we going to do? I feel like the point of life is to be challenged every day. Right? Oh, Jesus. Challenged every day, pushed every day, new experiences, right? At the end of life, what do you have? You have the experiences.
Right.
You can't take the money with you, none of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's my thing, and I remember like feeling this way in like my early to mid 20s was when I'm, and Gary Vee talks about this a lot now, which is interesting. When I'm like 95, 100, whatever years old on my deathbed, I don't want to have any regrets.
Yeah.
I want to feel like I left this life with nothing in the tank.
Do you have any regrets?
No.
Nothing?
I don't.
Nice.
No, no regrets. Everything, no. I mean, maybe, I was like, should I have gone away to college? But if I went away to college, I wouldn't have had the experiences here that I had. So, there's a plan for me. I push it every day. I wake up. And just to our point before, like, I've known you for a year. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of people that are like, oh, a year went by so fast. And you talk to them, like, what went on? They're like, everything's the same. Bro, the amount of shit that we have done in the last year is crazy. Yeah. That's why I don't mind when time goes by fast, because I know that we're packing that time with so much.
Yeah. What is, as we wrap up here, your favorite thing about this business? What do you like most about it?
My favorite thing about the business. So I come from a very creative family. Uh-huh. My one sister is a copywriter and advertising, and she's an artist. My other sister is a photographer, and she blows. She's a glass blower. I swear to God.
What do you mean?
Like, you ever see those? Like those people that have that long tube and they heat up the glass and they blow into the glass and they make like pots and statues and all kinds of shit.
Wow.
I cannot.
I was gonna say, can you draw a stick figure?
No, I can't even read my own name when I sign it.
You sure you're part of the family?
Yeah, right. My artistic ability is deal structure and building things. Like, it's really cool to I still get so excited when I walk into a house. I've done 300 plus houses at this point. I walk into a house, it smells like cat piss, there's fleas everywhere, it's disgusting, and I still get super excited about the creative process of what we're going to do to this place.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
What is your least favorite part of this business or thing about this business? There's got to be something.
Nah, man.
Don't, come on. There's got to be.
No.
There's nothing that you don't, there's not one thing you dislike.
I love every part of the process. It's awesome.
You're full of shit.
No, I'm serious.
Every part. Not one thing you can think of.
That I really, really dislike?
I mean, it's not that you really, really dislike, or maybe you wish was different, or anything.
No, because listen, anything that I want to be different, I have the power to change, and I'll do that. Mm-hmm. Like right now, I'm a little bit too involved in the construction process. I don't want to do that. Right. But that's my fault. Mm-hmm. I have to make sure that I hire another CM, or I structure things differently, or I delegate the responsibility more. But I love everything about this business, bro.
Even when you're flipping a house and you have 5 different accepted offers and they all back out once they get the green light that they're accepted, that doesn't bother you?
Love it. Because when you and I end up blowing a house out at $20,000 over ask, it wouldn't be as sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I love it.
Anything we got to plug here? Captain Permit, you want to give the number? Mike's the man. You guys get everything done. Any plugs as we wrap this up?
Obviously, I'm the handsome home buyer. You have a house that smells like cat pee, is dated from the 1960s. 6 inches of mold on the wall. Human waste floating past the basement steps. What I leave out? Land, commercial property. I want to buy it. 516-777 sold. And if you have a permit problem anywhere on Long Island, from Elmont to Montauk and everything in between, and if you're in real estate, you definitely have a permit problem. Call the captain, 516-513-8838.
What about social media? Where can people follow you?
Every platform there is, even TikTok. I'm shimmying on TikTok these days. Handsome _ Homebuyer or Charles Weinraub. YouTube, everywhere. You name it.
All right, so that wraps up episode 2 here at the Dan O'Neill Show. We are exclusively on Colca Interactive. Thank you for tuning in. My guest, Charles Wienraub. Hopefully you learned a few things here, and we're super excited for next episode. Any last piece of advice if somebody's listened for this entire time? Any last nugget that you might think of?
It's a new year. Not that I believe in New Year's resolutions, but if you in any way are not happy with your life today, make a change.
That's it.
Just do it. Yeah, kid.
Episode 2, Dan O'Neill Show. Thank you, Coke Interactive. You're the man.